Welcome back to the Corporate Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Sujit, and today we come for the second episode of the Corporate Real Estate Show. Today we are taking time off to introduce ourselves and also bring to you why we're so passionate about corporate real estate. Joining me today is my co-host, Bilna Sandeep.
Hello everyone, it's great to be back to our second episode. We are extremely happy and grateful for your response on our first episode. In this episode, we will also dive into the science behind the corporate real estate and why we believe that it's an integral part of the evolution of any and all cities, past, present, and future.
Absolutely. Last time, we dwelled into the story of evolution of cities, laying the groundwork for why we talking about corporate real estate. Today, though a little more impersonal, we want you to know who's behind the scenes, working to bring you all these stories with regard to the corporate real estate across the globe. Also, what drives us to bring you these stories.
Okay, Sujit, let's start with you. Entrepreneur by design, inspired by love, creating art from architecture, spanning 7 dimensions of space. I've heard you say this quite a lot of times, so let's start from there itself. Tell us who you are, Sujit, and the story behind this.
My journey has been for quite long period in corporate real estate. I started my career way back in the 2000s. Back home in India, after college, I was clueless as to what I wanted to do. I stumbled upon some of these very unique names like CBRE, Colliers, Jones Lang LaSalle. These names actually caught my imagination because they were all related to real estate. And as children, we only knew real estate is related to housing and
the
buying
residential
land.
side of it.
Absolutely, the residential side of it, and I was intrigued. So my journey began.
And where did you start it off from out of this list?
Yeah, so it's again a very interesting story because I started off with one of the largest corporate real estate companies known to the world today, which is Jones Lang LaSalle. When I say corporate real estate, I think I'll have to stop a little bit, and just for the audience, I would really want to tell them what corporate real estate is about.
Exactly. Yes.
Corporate real estate is more with dealing with the 360-degree life cycle of any property. And when we say property, we mean the asset in its entirety.
Okay.
Right? We would say the land, what is built on the land, and then how that functions as a business. That property that is built on it, it functions as a business. That's
life cycle of
the
it.
entire life cycle of it, and then how you maintain that building and how you drive revenues from that building, and that asset becomes revenue generating asset. Right.
Nice.
So the definition of an asset is what brings you money. Right.
Yes.
We generally have heard assets and liabilities.
Yes.
So sometimes not all assets can be income generating ones, right? For the large extent, real estate per se is an income generating asset.
Nice.
And it's one of the most secure forms of investment that anybody can make. That's what corporate
real estate is about.
Deals with.
Nice. And so to come back to your journey again, to your career. So you started off with JLL, and then what was next? Like what was your role there, and then how did you grow up in your career after that?
Oh yeah, when I joined JLL, I started as a runner. We used to map the city. I started from a city called Bangalore in India.
Nice.
And that was just when the dot-com bubble had bust in 1998.
That was when a lot of activities were happening.
It was bust, and then in 2000 when the corporates like Microsoft, Google, for that matter, even Cisco's of the world were looking at places to set up their back-end operations.
Nice.
Right, because so they wanted locations that would be ideal where they can find land to build their campuses and operate from and house large amounts of employees. When I say employees, because in real estate, for any company, they would invest largely on three things. One is their business in itself, whatever the business is. Two is where they function out of. That is their real estate part of it.
Yes.
And three is their employees.
Yes.
So
Their
that's
human resources.
Yeah, that's human resources. That is where you put the maximum amount of money, and there's a lot of science that goes into it. So I started by my boss at that point in time said, go walk on the street and find out what are the buildings that are there on this building, on the street. And, that's where I started off from.
Right from the basics.
Right from the basics, to understand what brought corporates there.
Yes.
Right? That's where I started off with. It was Jones Lang LaSalle. Then I slowly graduated and then moved city head for another large IPC. When we say IPC, I think that everybody knows about it, but IPC is International Property Consultants. So those consultants were the torchbearers of corporate real estate. I moved to Colliers as the city head for Colliers. I used to
Again in Bangalore.
Nice. Again in Bangalore. India was really going through a
IT
rise.
boom.
The IT boom. People needed space to work out of. They wanted to almost mimic their lifestyles, their counterparts' lifestyles in the United States.
Nice.
Right? So these companies which had big campuses there in the United States wanted to come and set up offices also in India because they identified India as a talent pool.
Nice. I think this is a whole episode in itself that we should focus on how this whole development had come to India.
Correct.
Yes. And now coming back to your career, what was the next move after that?
Yeah, I was again I moved from JLL to Colliers to CB Richard Ellis, which again is a Fortune 500 company. CB Richard Ellis. In CB Richard Ellis, I was taking care of transactions. In fact, that was one of the places where I saw a very, very large transaction take space. A company by the name Cisco, which actually I also assisting with regard to identifying land, to understanding how they would raise money to develop that project, that campus and all, design the campus, project manage the campus to develop it, assign the developer.
On all the sides, all the steps of it.
Right, assign the developer and then actually move into the campus. So it was a great story, great journey. In fact, from there I went to GMR, which is again one of India's largest infrastructure players, where I was heading the airport landside development. I mean, for Indians, it's not anything new, but you would all have flown through the Hyderabad airport campus.
Yes.
And that's the campus that I actually help set up and get clients in there. In fact, there's a name called Decathlon that you all know today here in Dubai.
Yes.
Decathlon was set up their first campus in India in the Hyderabad International Airport. The first ever campus. This was back in 2012. In fact, I was instrumental in bringing this company to India. And from there on, it's history because they've grown multi-flow folds in India, in Asia, and then here in the United Arab Emirates, where we're doing the show from.
Nice.
Yeah, that's as much as my career in terms of as an employee.
Yes. And what brought you to Dubai and to entrepreneurship?
Wow, that's something that I love talking about. Apparently, I was born here in here in Dubai. I was born and raised here in Dubai back in 1978. Now I've given away my age. When there was absolutely nothing here in Dubai, I went to school called Indian High School, and it is today one of the most successful schools, I can say.
Indian schools.
Indian schools here in Dubai. That's where first I heard, on the emblem of Indian High School, it was written, "Knowledge is power." It stuck with me,
Nice.
It really stuck with me. So as I said, I was born here, went to Indian High School, and those days there were no colleges here, so I had to obviously go back to India and do my college there. And of course, I've told you about my journey in terms of JLL and CBRE and Colliers back home in India. In 2014, I came back to Dubai. I came back to Dubai, seeing what was actually happening in Dubai with regard to real estate, and I had sitting back home in India itself, I had actually identified that Dubai was only focusing on the residential real estate part of the puzzle.
Yes.
Residential real estate part of the puzzle. And I knew then and there that corporate real estate had to come to the UAE as well, and that's where I came back. And when I came back here, I had an assignment, and that assignment was with Colliers.
Oh, nice.
Right, yeah. So Colliers, I got in with Colliers, and Colliers had an office here. Apparently also has an office even now in Dubai, and they're doing pretty well. I came into Dubai. In fact, there was a specific assignment for me. That assignment was with Citibank.
Okay.
Citibank was looking at selling off all their retail assets in Egypt. This transaction was actually taking place, and finally ended up going to Egypt, understanding the market there, understanding how corporate real estate was working over there. I was there for about 6 months, on and off, coming into Dubai, going back there. Finally, that deal culminated in Bank Monsieur, which is one of the largest banks in Egypt, buying off these retail assets from. When I say retail assets, these are their office spaces, right?
Okay.
So people get confused between
retail space.
Retail space and retail. But it is in all, we call it as an asset over here.
Yes.
Right, in the corporate real estate parlance, we call it as
Retail assets.
And we had a sale, and which gave Colliers Dubai a foothold in the Egyptian market as well. And further from there, Colliers Dubai also went and set up an office in Egypt as well. Post that, I kind of moved out of Colliers and set up my own organization back in 2018. This was a conscious effort, as I thought I could do much more. By that time, I had made a lot of friends with a lot of large developers here in the United Arab Emirates. I was talking to the Dubai Land Department with regard to bringing in large investments, institutional grade investment
from outside the country,
to understand how UAE can capitalize on the corporate real estate front. Right, as a country to be wanting to bring in these institutional investors here. In fact, just before COVID, in 2019, we were working on a landmark project with Emaar. Some of the big names I can gladly say even today. Emaar was at that point in time trying to do a LPGP model. Sell a block of their assets on a fund format.
Okay.
On a real estate fund format, and MRICS was the merchant banker for it, and we had brought ICD Brookfields. ICD is Investment Corporation of Dubai, and Brookfields is, of course, one of the largest asset managers in the world. As you know, if the name ICD Brookfield is also synonymous with the Brookfields Palace in DIFC. If you've visited DIFC, you'll see the latest building that is there. It's a shiny new building which ICD has developed. ICD and Brookfield. That's where it is, and post that, unfortunately, I think COVID hit.
Yes. A lot of things had to go to the back burner.
Yeah, a lot of things had to go to the back burner, and I like most families, I also left from Dubai.
Okay.
Went back to India, and now I'm back here to pick up the sticks and
start back again. Nice. So Sujit, now what actually brings you back to Dubai? What's your current vision?
To enlarge upon that, Bilna, I have actually set up Sevendale Corp here in the United Arab Emirates. The purpose is to establish Sevendale Corp in the UAE as a premier corporate real estate consultancy providing transaction and business location advisory, capital markets and valuation, project management and facility management to institutional investors, real estate asset managers and occupiers across all asset categories. This podcast is intended to reach the UAE government decision makers and the top business conglomerates in the GCC to create awareness on the fundamental benefits of attracting corporate real estate occupiers, institutional investors, and real estate asset managers. We hope to achieve this by creating content with case studies on how institutional occupiers have chosen business locations and investment grade real estate assets in the past across Asia, Europe, and Africa. The podcast will also research, review, and make suggestions for the benefit of policymakers and indigenous family businesses to create and develop institutional investment grade real estate assets and leverage the power of corporate real estate.
Amazing, Sujit. That's interesting to know your whole vision for the corporate real estate for this country, and I really look forward to see your dreams come true soon.
Thank you very much, Bilna. So Bilna, your career has been just as impressive with a blend of construction, marketing, entrepreneurship. Could you share your story to our audience as well, please?
Amazing, sure. So maybe I would also start from where it all began. As you already know, I'm a civil engineer and I'm also a chartered surveyor. So when I started off my career, like you, I started off in India, but on a very brief period, less than a year time. I started by going to the sites, running around, just like you, the runner thing. I was also on the sides, learning what is piling, what is all those day-to-day of the construction. And then I was lucky enough to get a job in Bahrain. So I moved to Bahrain and I worked for a year in Bahrain. There I started off by assisting a contracts director. And I started off by learning what should not be done in a construction project. Because the contracts director, he was actually doing an arbitration of a project that didn't go well. I mean, the project was completed, but they were in dispute. So I was assisting him. That's how I went into the world of commercial contracts and everything. And I was literally, none of the people who were part of the project was there anymore in the company. They had all moved on to different projects or different companies. And I was assigned the task of doing forensic analysis of the project. So I was looking at all the documentation, what went wrong, what was it. So I learned everything in and out about the construction contracts in that 1 year. So now anybody comes and asks me any FIDIC clause, I'd be like, okay, this is clause number this is what, and that was what I started off with.
I think you should expand what is FIDIC.
So FIDIC is basically, for those who don't know, in construction, It's an international form of contracts that is used in most of the construction projects, especially in GCC. There are different FIDIC forms of contracts for each type of projects. So that is what FIDIC is about.
So that's exactly what it is, you know. So corporate real estate is a science. Of course, sales is one part of it, but corporate real estate has a science behind it.
Yes, exactly.
Has a science behind it, and it's very, very complex.
Yes.
So I'm sure during your tenure you would have learned about cost consulting,
yes,
time management,
very
and you really know that every project will go through a delay in time,
yes,
cost escalations, and
yes, everything happens, right?
Absolutely.
Like, yes, extension of time, delays. So I was basically doing analysis of the project. What went wrong? Where was the EOT claims? EOT's extension of time claims.
Absolutely.
All these things I was dealing with. And then after that, I moved on to UAE. I started off in Abu Dhabi with, again, one of the other construction giants here, Arabtech. They are no more. Right now, I mean, they are not in the market anymore. But at that time, when I was joining Arabtech, that is the time when they got their Abu Dhabi new airport project. That was when they also got awarded the 7-star Fairmont Hotel in Marina, Abu Dhabi Marina. So I was in that project.
So I'm sure you're an expert in BOQs, and
yes,
you know, of course, for people who don't know what a BOQ is, it's bill of quantities.
Yes.
Again, science. When you come across a project, you would be able to calculate what sort of material, what sort of cost that would that would attract.
Yes.
These are the basics.
Yes.
And that's where the basics then build up to the final step of sales.
Yes.
Right? Of course. And I think today, when I spoke about the fundamental change, I think the fundamental change has to be the change from just doing sale. Sale is one part of it.
Yes.
But the production is equally important.
Exactly. The production, the sale, and the after sale also.
After sale also.
Right? Maintaining the properties.
So that's where corporate real estate really dives in, right? Dives in, and then people and professionals who are corporate real estate professionals, they know every bit of it.
Yes.
They know how much the sand is going to cost, how much the cement is going to cost, how much the steel is going to cost, how much, and you know what you can sell it for.
Exactly.
And that drives value. And that is the basis of valuation as well.
Yes, and which is you're an expert at in that area.
Right. So there you are, of course.
So
I think back to you again for your.
Amazing. So coming back to the project, so that gave me a very good perspective. And in that particular project, I was working on the contractor side in Arabtech, and I was more dealing with the procurement of subcontractors.
Fantastic.
So all the subcontracts required for that project, absolutely, I was involved in right from creating the documentation to procurement, onboarding them, then their payment cycles after that. So that's absolutely what I was dealing with at that time. And then after a point in time, I moved to another project, which was in Pivot. That was another one of the good construction companies here. And I was working on one of the projects in Sadia, Thailand. It was part of the whole development where, the Louvre Museum and so many museums. And so I was part of a luxury residential development there. So that's what I was doing. And then again on the contractor side, then I moved to Dubai. When I moved to Dubai, I was working with DCO Group. That is another huge contracting company here in UAE. And there I got the opportunity to work as a developer actually.
Wow.
Because DCO has their own projects. So I was working on the development division of the company.
Very good.
And there I got the opportunity to work on a project. It was a 5-star hotel project. Right from putting the pen on the drawing board to hand over to the hotel operator, I got the chance to be involved. And I was there right from the feasibility studies of the project to onboarding the designers, onboarding the project management company, onboarding the contractor, and then the whole project cycle. I was in charge of managing the budget of the whole project.
Wow.
Which at that time, when the offer came to me as a job, it was like I was too young in my career at that time. But I'm so glad our managers trusted to give that project on to me, and that was the biggest learning experience for me in my life, because managing the whole budget of a project, initially I thought client side maybe it's much easier, but when you are on the client side, you know that variations are happening on the project, things are gonna change, things are changing, and on the run there would be a lot of technical things that might not comply. But that gave me the whole perspective of how a project starts from the pre-contract stage to the contracting time to until the handover, and coordinating with between the hotel operator, contractors, the designers. Everybody has their own wish list, but you are in charge of managing that budget development sheet.
Absolutely. Cost control.
Yes, cost control without affecting the quality and time of the project. Right, so that is what I learned during the time, and that is my expertise now as well. Yeah.
Quantity control, cost control,
Yes.
quality control.
Yes.
Yeah. So both sides, buy side and sell side.
Yes.
Wow, that's been an amazing journey. I'm sure you've got the nuances of how a development can take place, and
Yes.
there's so many moving parts to it, Vilna.
Yes.
So many moving parts
So
to
many
it.
people involved, so many
people.
trades involved.
So many trades. I mean, I can't just start to tell you about it, and it's a vast subject.
Yes. Like you said, it's a science.
It's absolutely a science by
Yes.
itself, and it's the oldest business that is known to mankind. I mean, I think we covered
Yes.
that in the first
Yes. Episode.
episode. We said how cities were born,
Yes.
how it has grown, and
Yes.
why people are attracted to it, and cities are the engines of growth.
Growth, exactly.
That's
Yes.
it's there's no two ways about it.
And what I currently do is I'm a director in Maven. It's a project management and cost consulting company. What we do in Maven is we work with developers and investors in managing the projects of all the construction projects, right from their cost consulting to the complete project management. This is what we do in Maven. And I also missed one of the other experiences that I have is my last job as a employee was with BK Gulf Facilities Management. It was a facilities management company, so that completes the life cycle of the building. Now we were into facilities management, so taking care of the commercial aspects of all the projects they had, from hard services, soft services, all of it. So that's what, for those who don't know what's hard and soft services, basically hard services is all the technical maintenance you will see on the project.
There you go.
All the MEP maintenance, all the plant maintenance, and all the reactive maintenance. Plant is basically on every term, every period you have a maintenance happening. And reactive is basically when something goes wrong and the tenant calls, you go and repair. So that's the reactive. And the soft services is basically the cleaning and the
Housekeeping
security
services.
and the security services. So I was again in that company as a commercial manager, and now I'm on my own. I work with Maven as well as I also run a marketing agency that specializes in the construction and the built environment.
Absolutely.
That's the sales aspect of the real estate again.
Absolutely. I think you've got a fantastic career now and ahead of you. You're just making the right sounds and absolutely going the right path. I think it's time that you can
look
actually
forward to.
take this to the next level.
Let's see how that happens.
Let's see how that pans out. Yeah. So, Bilna,
Yes.
I think I saw somewhere that you are also an RICS. Do you want to explain to our viewers what RICS is and what's this big
Yeah, I
hooray
think that is one of the
around
very common questions I
MRICS
get,
and all that?
from everyone who follows me on LinkedIn. That's where only place where I put my name as Bilna Sandeep MRICS. So I'm like, what is MRICS if you're not in the industry? So basically, I'm a member of Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. I'm a chartered surveyor. And chartered surveyors, again, you get to become a chartered surveyor through different pathways. I am from the construction and quantity surveying pathway. Basically, chartered surveyor is somebody who can guide you and advise you on the projects, on the construction projects, in terms of their cost management, project management, and all these sides. And there are different other pathways like valuation, which you are from, the valuation industry. So there are different pathways. My expertise is in the construction and project management pathway. And our company Maven is also a chartered surveying firm. We are approved by RICS. So yeah, this is what we do.
Absolutely. So that's very nice to know. Thank you very much for telling our viewers and giving some good amount of information which is not generally given. I kind of sometimes
which is why we started this podcast
hold back
to
a
share
certain amount of information, but this is very
now let's come back to the podcast,
share knowledge.
To our construction, to our corporate real estate show.
Yeah.
All right. Now that everyone had a glimpse into both of our careers and who is Sujit and who is Vilna, now let's get back to the corporate real estate show. Today in the show, we are also going to cover 5 major areas of corporate real estate that we want to discuss today and which will become the theme for all our episodes to come again.
Sure. Exactly, Vilna. Knowledge is power. When I read it first, it stuck with me. And over the years, I kind of improvised on it. Slightly added on to it. Knowledge is power and information is its currency.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I, as much as knowledge is power, if you keep it with yourself, I don't think you really can make much out of it.
I think knowledge grows when you share.
Yeah, it grows when you share, and you can only transact when you share it. And that's why I say information is currency. Amazing. And that's exactly what we're going to do over here. We're going to share to everybody around what the 5 pillars of corporate real estate is all about, or rather the 5 services, I would say. Yeah, I would say the services that are actually included and that come together to, what corporate real estate is all about.
Now for our audience, I'm just going to list out all these major 5 aspects so that they know what's coming on the show. I would start off with the first one, business location advisory. And under that, we have global mandates. We also have build, operate, transfer models. And then the second aspect is the capital markets and asset management. And under that, we have real estate investment trust. We have sukuks, fractional ownership. And the third category we'll be diving into is valuation and consultancy, where we will talk about best use studies, reserve fund studies, techno-commercial evaluation, and the fourth aspect is the project management, and fifth aspect is the facilities management. So let's dive in.
Wow, this really looks like one school now. Yeah, we're going to school people around here. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, let's kick it off, and I think business location advisory.
Yes. Would you like to start off by giving us a bit of information about what exactly is business location advisory?
So let's dive into business location advisory.
Okay.
Business location advisory is where corporate real estate professionals understand your business in depth, your business requirement in depth. For example, your target clients, your workforce requirement, your expansion plans, etc. And then they will advise on a location where you have to go. Where you have to set up your office.
Where is the right apt location for your office?
For your office or your restaurant or any business. Your factory or anything. Anywhere that your business should be located. That is what business location advisory is.
Nice.
All right. For example, if you're the head of Microsoft.
Okay.
When I say head, a corporate real estate
head of real estate.
Head of real estate for Microsoft. You're looking to incubate your artificial intelligence technology team to cater to the ASEAN and the Middle Eastern region. You would probably look at it from an angle of what are my challenges, right? Okay. That's what you would look at.
Exactly.
You'd say,
I need a place where I can find the right human resources.
Exactly.
The right regulatory requirements in the country.
Yeah, that's how it works, right? Find a country that ranks among the top go-to locations in ease of doing business, setting up a business, access to effective and cost-effective multilingual workforce, access to uninterrupted power,
infrastructure of the country,
all of that, right? So that's That's what
So
a
it also
location
includes,
advisory
when you
is
say
all about.
location, it includes choosing the country itself.
Yes,
Even
exactly.
that is also part of it.
Exactly.
Right?
It's very important to go to the right country, because
Nice.
a country needs to invite you.
Yes.
For example, when we were talking about Microsoft, right? So Microsoft initially was looking for spaces across the Asian continent. Why Asia? Because they had cheap workforce there.
Yes.
They had cost-effective workforce there. They would pay probably 50% lesser to
What they
a
would pay
software
if they were in
engineer who is based in India with the same amount of IQ
Yes.
that his US counterpart would have, but he'd be paying far lesser in terms of his salaries.
Yes.
And in terms of the space. Now, if the US is going to cost him, say, $5 a square foot to set up office, here in India, it's going to cost him $50 to set up space.
So that's the difference.
So that's a large difference in terms of savings,
Yes.
right? So that is why corporate real estate executives would look to. That is what
the role of the corporate real estate executive
exactly.
comes.
That is what
Analyzing the best place that's available for setting up your office or your operations.
That's it. Yeah, that's business location advisory, Bella.
I've also heard about the terms like global mandates, and build, operate, transfer models. So what are they and how are they related to business location advisory?
So I think I touched upon this when we spoke in the beginning with regard to Citibank wanting to sell off all their retail assets
in Egypt.
In Egypt. Yeah. So Citibank is a very large, is one of the world's largest banks, right?
Yes.
As you know it. It's a financial institution. Now that institution wanted to divest whatever they had in Egypt, and they kind of give a mandate, right? So I'm talking about global mandates because Citibank as a corporate would need to entrust somebody who is knowledgeable about that particular location, knowing what the workforce is like, knowing what the prices are like, knowing how the business environment is there, to actually be able to sell at the right value to another major corporate there in that location. So that's what a global mandate is all about, right? So a global player like Microsoft, Citibank, HSBC, or a large Oracle or a Cisco will give a mandate to a broker.
Okay.
Right? This is where I'm talking about
To a corporate
brokers.
real estate broker.
To a corporate real estate broker who understands the science.
Understands.
So that is what a global mandate is. So that broker then takes this information. He is fed with all the information from the corporate saying that I'm looking for this, I'm looking for this kind of price.
So it's basically the client requirements.
Yes.
Can we say in the simplest terms like that? It's the client requirements that is actually the global mandate.
So the client requirement is given to this corporate real estate broker, and that's called a global mandate. That's all. So he can go anywhere around the world. It doesn't have to be a US company just looking in the US. He'll come to, say, the Philippines. He'll go to India. He'll go to UAE for that matter. And that's why we are here today. So, we want to attract all of these large corporates to come into the UAE
and develop their campuses.
Yes, we want to have large corporate mandates, global mandates that can be secured here in the UAE.
Now, this is the extension of it. What is build, operate, transfer model?
Yeah, of course. So when a large corporate looks at space, he will look at the space. He will say, "Hey, listen, I need the space, right? So there should be locally somebody to build it for him, right? And then operate it, and then transfer it to him."
Okay.
Right. So Citibank, all their people are sitting somewhere, maybe in Singapore, maybe in the United States. So they need a local partner, like, for example, let's say an Emaar, a large developer like an Emaar, or for that matter, Aldar, or any of these large major local developers, large developers, to actually take this requirement, and they need to be confident that these large developers can do justice to their requirement. They take this requirement, they find the land, in that area, say, let's say focus on Dubai.
Yes.
Look at a location like Dubai South, and then focus there, find the land, buy the land, build the property, and then deliver it to him.
Nice.
It's a build to suit facility that is transferred on to the client. So
Once
get the
it's become
client
operational.
once it's become operational, and there, so the client can then focus on whatever they're doing in terms
Yes.
of their business and not worry about the real estate part
It's
of it.
being taken care of.
It's being taken care of.
Amazing. So now let's talk about capital markets. It's always fascinating to me to hear all these words, but I would love to know what exactly these are for our audience as well.
Absolutely. So everybody thinks that capital markets is mostly associated with shares, stocks, bonds, debentures, equity, debt. Yes,
That's the first thought that
that's
comes
the
to
first
mind.
thought that comes in. Yes, this is all related. However, when we talk about capital markets in the sphere of corporate real estate, capital markets deals with things like real estate investment trusts,
Yes.
known as REIT,
Yes.
commonly known as REIT, REIT.
I've heard this quite often, but maybe you want to expand what it is
that's
for
a
us.
real estate investment trust.
Okay.
Right. So this is not very uncommon. It is common in various parts of the world. What happens is that it's very similar to what, if I can explain, you have one building. Example, maybe Bilna is the owner of one building.
Yes.
And you have developed that building. Now what you do is that you run that building as a business.
Okay.
And you then give shares of that building. Now, when you say shares in the stock market, just a piece of paper.
The share of the business, but here it is actually the building.
Actually the building.
Or the land,
Yes.
or,
yes. Actually the piece of that asset, right? It's a trust wherein you have fractional ownership. So you have a building that is, say, 100,000 square foot. You have divided that building into small 100 square foot sizes, right? And you're able to,
so I could even invest at a very small scale in real estate.
Exactly.
Is that what we're coming to?
Exactly. So what happens is that if you want to buy 100,000 square foot here in the UAE, say if it is 1,000 dirhams per square foot, at let's say a base price of 1,000 dirhams, you're talking about million, 100 million dirhams in terms of. But if you can actually own just 100 square foot there, just 100. So you can, if it is 100 square foot into 1,000 dirhams, you're just paying 1 million dirhams.
Yes.
So in 1 million dirhams, what you can do is that you can actually get the returns of that as well. So what happens
as the asset value grows?
Not actually only as the asset value grows.
Okay.
It could be that there is a grade tenant there.
Okay.
Example, in the building, there is, let's say, let's go back to the example of Microsoft.
Okay.
Like Microsoft has leased this building, which belongs to Bilna, for an X value of rent, right? So, but Bilna has then sold shares of this building to Sujit and rest of Sujit's friends, right? So, every time the rent comes in from Microsoft to this
fund,
trust,
to the trust,
Bilna then pays out that
in terms of whatever percentages
whatever the percentage is pro rata basis to each of the party. So you get the rent as well as you have the physical asset, and when the physical asset grows in value, it is then sold again. And then you get back your initial investment as well. It's very simple.
Amazing. This is an amazing model. So it's we have covered the fractional ownership aspect of it as well.
Yes.
Right? And what is bridge or construction finance? What is that about?
All right. So this dwells in the capital market. So this is mainly for developers, right? So capital markets is a B2B structure. It is a business to business. It's not a business to customer kind of structure. So when a developer is going into development, he would need to buy the land.
Yes.
Let's take the example of Microsoft again, right? Microsoft gives a mandate to a corporate real estate broker saying that he needs 100,000 square foot in Dubai South.
Okay.
Now, the corporate real estate broker goes to let's say, a large developer like EMAR and says, I have a mandate from Microsoft for 100,000 square foot in Dubai South. So EMAR says, hey, listen, I don't have the building right now.
Okay.
I'll have to build it.
Okay.
Says, okay, fine. Let's quickly find the land. So EMAR says, okay, fine. I have the land. Now I have to build.
Yes.
Now he's going to build. He needs money to actually build the property. Now he will involve a bank to give him finance to actually build that property. So this particular corporate real estate professional will go to the bank and say, hey, listen, EMAR as a developer has his own credentials. Also, the tenant who is coming in is Microsoft, and the Microsoft also is going to pay this much of rent, X amount of rent.
Yes.
And this rent can cover the loan amount that is being taken by the builder to actually finance that project. And that is where it is called a bridge. So it bridges the gap for the developer to be able to finance himself to develop the property, and
using
also
the mandate that has come.
Using the mandate that has come.
Nice. So that's a bridge arrangement.
Yeah, it's a name. We call it a bridge. It's a finance terminology, and that's why it's called, because it puts two parties together. And there's a bridge of money. Money becomes the bridge. Yes, that's
okay. Nice. Yeah. Now maybe let's go to the asset management and what are actually different real estate assets.
All right, now this is a fantastic question because I would now want to refer back to the United Arab Emirates, where we have overly focused on the residential. We have mostly focused, I wouldn't say overly, I would say mostly focused on residential assets. We classify assets into about 7 major categories.
Okay.
And residential being one of it, right? So I will start with commercial. When I say commercial, it has office buildings.
Yes.
When I say retail, it has a strip retail and big box retail. Office building example would be again Microsoft, Cisco.
Yes.
Examples like that. You have retail examples like the Dubai Mall. This is big box retail.
Okay.
You have the Carrefour, which is a big box retail.
Okay. And what's a strip retail?
A strip retail is like your City Walk, which is a strip retail, which is
there's
generally
a strip of shops,
which is high street, which is also called high street.
Okay.
Traditionally, we had high street like the Dera Gold Souk, that is a high street.
Yes.
So that's one of the asset classes. Then we have hospitality.
Okay.
When I say hospitality, it is mostly hotels. Then there is holiday homes.
Okay.
In hospitality, right?
Yes.
There is hotels, holiday homes, senior living.
Classes under the
so many
hospitality.
classes under that. Then you have education. Education is also another asset class. Did you even actually know?
Think of
you
that
don't
part,
even think
right?
of it. So education, you can say.
In fact, it's a huge asset class.
Absolutely, it's a big asset class. And very recently, GEMS, one of the biggest names
in education here.
In education in the United Arab Emirates, has raised funding for expansion through Brookfields, one of the largest asset managers. That is also available for drawdowns. I'll explain drawdowns. I'll explain all of that maybe in the next show, but it's a huge topic. But yes, so that is another asset class. Education. Did you even imagine?
I didn't even think of that. Now that you mention, I think of the chain of schools, the universities. And
absolutely.
There's
so much to it, right? There's so much to even all the hotels, right? If you look at all the hotels, there are hotels on the Fairmont, on the Palm. All of these are assets that can be transacted. Can be transacted.
Yes.
Right? But not in the traditional residential transaction method, right?
Yes.
The method is different. That's all. Logistics.
Yes.
Again, warehousing and logistics.
Yes.
Huge
industry.
Huge industry. You have
There's
FedEx.
a lot of cargo movement happens.
Yes,
in
you
UAE,
have traditional
right?
players like FedEx,
Yes.
and today you have Amazon,
Yes.
which is actually putting up black sites. They're called
Yes.
black sites, and they need.
What are black sites?
Yeah, black sites are the areas where they store whatever you buy.
Okay.
Right?
They're warehouses.
It's like a warehouse, right?
Okay.
They have. It's a hub and spoke model. That's it deals with supply chain.
Nice.
If Bilna would order something on Amazon, that order goes to Amazon, and then Amazon tells
Their
the
dispatch
supplier that supplier that this product has been ordered. So then the supplier informs the logistic company, who will then go pick up this from one of their black sites.
Oh,
So you need to have black sites. So if Bilna is staying in say downtown Dubai, they need to have a black site very close
Yes.
to Bilna's home, so that they'll be able to cut down on the travel time to deliver it. So this is part of corporate real estate. So as a corporate real estate asset, right?
Nice,
So enormous. The possibilities are huge. So I said warehouse and logistics.
Data centers?
Absolutely huge. Data centers is another asset which is growing by leaps and bounds.
Yes.
Do you actually know future with AI coming in? You will have yes, there is a huge requirement, and data centers is power intensive.
Yes.
Yeah, right? You need data centers are places. Now, what is a data center?
Yes. Maybe let's start from there.
Yeah,
Yes.
data center is nothing but where you house servers.
Yes.
Right? There are thousands and thousands of servers.
Cloud servers.
Cloud
which we
servers.
hear, right?
Yeah, physical
Yes.
servers, right?
So we always purchase the cloud, but we don't know where our data is getting
Exactly.
stored. It has to be stored somewhere.
It has to be
anyway,
stored
right?
somewhere, right? The physical aspect of it. These data centers are huge. So to build a data center, it is very capital intensive, because it requires a lot of energy to cool down, right? So
Yes.
if you have 100 servers or 1,000 servers in one single location,
The cooling system.
all of that is required.
Yes.
So building that is an asset in itself.
Yes.
So there's a very large investor called Iron Mountain. Okay. There's a large investor like the Brookfields. So they specialize in investing into data centers, right? So I'm all out to fly into the US, go to Iron Mountain, and say, hey, listen, Dubai has a lot of land and fantastic, good quality power and infrastructure. Please come and set up your data centers over here, provided the government says okay to it, right?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, these are possible opportunities for
the possibilities of the commercial,
the corporate
real
real
estate.
estate.
What about the infrastructure of a country? Are they also part of
that
the
is
real
also
estate?
that is also part of real estate, right? So we tend to miss out the roads and bridges and
Railways.
the railways and all of that. Of course, those are also infrastructure projects, and those are also part of corporate real estate. So there are large companies that would want to come in and invest in those
infrastructure projects of a country.
Infrastructure projects of the company as well. Example, recently there was a large fund from the Canadian pension fund, which actually invested into India's infrastructure. Right, billions of dollars. Right, billions of dollars. So India is going, completely
big in terms of infrastructure.
Completely big in terms of infrastructure. So what they do is they don't actually put the money directly into the infrastructure. These large funds would actually come in and identify local players. Like example, for India, they identified GMR as one of the player. They identified Reliance Infra as one of the
and they invest through.
They invest through these. They identified the Adanis, right? They invest through these large players into the country. So here, for that matter, if you know the Jebel Port Authority, we could then talk to some of these large funds who would want to invest into some of these
of this country,
some of these infrastructure assets. So the possibility of corporate real estate, opening up corporate real estate as a major asset class, right, is very important for, I think,
growth of any country.
Growth of any country. Right. Growth of any country. why don't you just go ahead? I mean, we've got all the cars over here, right?
Yes.
Why don't you go into the US or go into China and ask some of these large Teslas or BYD to come into the United Arab Emirates and set up their factories? I mean, don't you think that's a good idea? That is real estate, yeah.
That is what the corporate real estate, and I know that is your vision. You've
Yes.
been really passionate about it right from the beginning.
Absolutely.
When you've been speaking about
That's
it.
where I said the government has to sit back. The government of the United Arab Emirates has to sit back and think about this and take a hard look at it and say, let's open few of these up as a test case to understand what is the kind of interest that most of these large corporates will have within their country, right?
This is actually rightly placed.
It's
right?
rightly
This country.
placed.
It has everything that you need.
Everything goes for the United Arab Emirates.
Yes.
Everything is going
Just
for the
checks
United.
off all the boxes.
It ticks off all the boxes. It ticks off human resources. It ticks off the infrastructure. It ticks off
Comfort
power,
of living.
comfort of living, just about anything.
Yes.
It's just waiting for the government to actually take notice and just wave a green signal, and I think professionals like me and you will be at the helm of going out to these large corporates,
Bring in all these corporates to this
and
country.
calling them and telling them, hey, listen, there's an opportunity here.
So when it comes to project management, I would say always the three elements, right? One is cost, time, quality. It's a triangle, right? So project management, so all these assets which we said, if you want to develop it in a country, or if it's a hospitality project or education, whatever the project is, you need to cover all the three sectors together, and we as project management professionals come in to make sure all these three are met. Whatever is a timeline set for it, what's a budget set for it, and what's the quality required for the project. So this is what we say project management is. And I'll also quickly go into the facilities management. Facilities management is once this construction asset has been handed over to the operator, be it in the case of a hospitality or education or residential, right? There is always an operator and a tenant involved. And to make sure this building or this asset is running in the way it has been designed efficiently, that is where the facilities management come in. We are here to make sure the maintenance is done properly for the assets, making sure that if anything goes wrong, the tenants are still in comfort, making sure everything is done on time, repairs are done, cleaning is done, the life cycle of the building or that asset has to be maintained properly. So that's what the facilities management is about.
I would end that by saying asset performance optimized.
So before we close off this episode, there is one area we missed, which is valuation.
Oh wow, very important, right? Yes, valuation, it is again one of the major pillars of corporate real estate. So the value is defined as the cornerstone of any business.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So when somebody comes and tells you this is going to give you an X amount of return,
yes,
there is an absolute science behind it.
Yes.
From understanding what the price of steel, cement, sand, to, of course, the finished product.
Yes.
Right? That is what valuation deals with. Now, to get a little bit more technical, we do a lot of things like best use studies. So, let me explain what a best use study is. A best use study is, example, Bilna has a piece of land.
Okay.
Now, Bilna does not know what to do with that piece of land. Should you actually build a house on it? Or should you build a building
tower,
on it,
yes,
a tower with 25 flats on it? Or do you want to build a hotel on it? Or do you want to do you want to build a school on it?
Yes.
Or do you want to build a hospital on it?
Yes.
Or do you want to actually build a factory on it?
Okay.
So you have a land, and the value of that land and the best use study done by a professional will exactly tell you what you should build there and what you can expect get a return out of this particular piece of
project.
land.
Okay, nice.
Piece of land. That's
Nice,
it.
nice.
So you start by understanding where the land is, what sort of people are next to that land, what sort of buildings are
Yes.
next to that land, what sort of businesses are there next to that land,
And also look at the future of that land.
and also look at what the future of that land.
Yes.
So and then you can exactly get the value of it. That is what a best use study talks about. For example, one of the best known buildings here in Dubai is of course the Burj Khalifa.
Yes.
So when you talk about the Burj Khalifa and they wanted to build something like that, most of these valuation agencies were clueless because
There is no comparison data.
There is no comparison data. Valuation always looks at historical data.
Yes.
Historical comparison to how a building has performed. A particular building, it has to perform.
Yes.
It is. That's why I keep calling a building as an asset, because
Yes.
it performs
And
optimally
yields value.
to yield a value.
Yes.
Right? Now that value could be high, value could be less, but it will yield a value.
Yes.
That is what a best use study will. Now I also know that we went into something called techno-commercial evaluation.
Yes.
That is also similar, right? So the technical side of it and the finance
commercial, yes.
finance side of it. So technical is how much cement,
Each
steel
material is gonna cost you.
is going to cost, what is the labor going to cost, and how much amount of this is required and how much that is going to cost to build. So that you put those two together, you have a project report. You can present that project report to the bank, and the bank will then give you
The
money
loan to
for
build
money to build it. That is called debt or equity, right? Equity is from a private player, debt is from a bank.
Nice.
This is it's
the whole
basic
science
finance.
of it.
Yeah, it's all basic finance. So that's mostly what deals with valuation and consultancy. So that is one of it. Yeah, I guess I've done justice to it.
Yes, now that we come to almost the end of this episode, I think we have covered all the major aspects of corporate real estate. And in each of these episodes, now you can expect us to dive deeper into each of these aspects. That's what our plan is to come by.
Indeed. And this is just the beginning. I'm really excited about where we are heading with the corporate real estate show. So I have a tagline for our company, Sevendale Corp. It says inspiring aspirations. We'd like to inspire people to aspire. We want them to aspire to build future-ready city using the tools of corporate real estate. And we will dive into the corporate real estate show with much more depth in each of these subjects.
Amazing, Sujit. So now to our audience, to know more about corporate real estate as we dive deep into it, make sure you subscribe to our channel. And if you have any particular questions regarding corporate real estate, please do put them in the comments. We'll make sure to answer them in the coming episodes. Thank you. Signing off, Bilna and Sujit.
Thank you, everybody. Keep watching.